Lyle, is that? Okay, it's on me. Alright, hello everyone on the second channel. Let's get started. Let's just go live first on my on the actual YouTube itself. So you might want to skip forward a bit. Where is it? Private, public, done, save. Great. Let's just, oh no, I went over here. Let's just share this around. So, oh, I'm gonna play some music through my headphones, but didn't plug them in. Yeah, my first stream back in a while. So let's see how it goes. Didn't plug them in. Yeah, it's a good topic to talk about. I've been wanting to talk about it basically all week. Let me just share this on Discord and shit. Actually, no, let's change that. Basically, well, I know people take a while to get in. Discord, all right. Andrew Yang's time has come. Streaming now. Okay, one more. Should I tweet about it? Dunking on Yang live right now. There we go. Let's share this all. Alright. Hi Pump Action, thanks for joining. Appreciate it. I'll wait a bit till we get started. Obviously want some more people in here. Just zoom in a bit. How's this looking? Oops, sorry if you can hear that. Oh shit, I should turn my sound off. But yeah, we're going to be talking about the Andrew Yang stuff. Which is so ridiculous, but like kind of unsurprising at the same time. I'm just waiting for everyone. But yeah, I hope everyone's good who's tuned in so far. And we're gonna... Andrew Yang's time has come. His time has come. Although I have like criticised him a lot in the past anyway, so it's not like a surprise. I've got it all lined up. I've got all the tabs ready for you guys. We're gonna go through this drama. Maybe a little late, you know. Didn't get there as quick as I wanted to. Hi everyone, so Mac, hey Mac, long time no see. Chavanackle, that's been, is Bavanackle? I don't know what the second one is, but you're calling me a chav. Infamous Marxist, actually, I'm going to move my chat to the other screen, so I'm not looking away from the mic. Infamous Marxist saying, the Yang bangers are done. Go on, King. This is what I get to say to all the Yang gang people that I told you so 2 years ago. Pump Action saying, I'm thoroughly convinced that if Yang came out against Israel, the fans left defending him would follow suit in a heartbeat. They're a cult. Yeah, they probably are. To be fair, I did see a couple of them disappointed in him, but I did see a lot of people defending him. Someone was moaning about, like, this is how why the left, like, eats itself. And it's like, in what planet is Andrew Yang, like, leftist and stuff? Hoping you'd cover this. Hey Katie, thanks for joining. Yang gang is done, yeah. Max saying he still thinks Yang is going to win the mayoral race. What are the... People were telling me before, what are the odds on him winning? Is it pretty likely he's going to win? Andrew Yang, the left, yeah. People were saying that. I don't know why, just because he supports like a weird libertarian version of UBI. I don't know what's going on in Israel. I'm dumb. Just, I don't know, jump on Twitter and read some stuff, I guess. He's second place by 2 points. Is Eric Adams? I haven't heard of this guy. Is he more conservative? He was favourite on the betting markets maybe 3 weeks ago. Why can't we get a left wing candidate that supports UBI? Yeah, I don't know really. Labour looking at social media like everyone is anti-Semitic now. Well, even Keir Starmer tweeted like some kind of like little support for the Palestinians, but not really though. But yeah, like it's not surprising with who Labour have chosen to ally themselves with on this issue. H. Shant saying, "Hey Kev, hey, you do be looking good, really." I feel like pretty casual. Got my stupid glasses on, but thanks anyway. Who else we got? Yang is left in the way Musk is communist. It's the Musk left. Andrew Yang is the Musk left. Alex saying he's right with his standing with Israel. Well, no, he's not. But if you mean right in the sense that he's trying to court, the Orthodox Jewish vote, apparently people were saying, then maybe for his election campaign, but it's not right at all. I'm going to get into this whole issue anyway. I let Yang have it for his horrible tweet. Glad I never fell for him or Tulsi. Yeah, they're both like weird libertarians. Didn't Labour suspend the Jewish MP for anti-Semitism? They've done that to a lot of Jewish members. I don't know if there's been an MP they've done it to, though. New York is a liberal stronghold in the US. Last mayor was Bloomberg, and many of his people working on Yang's campaign. That's not surprising. How was my break? It was nice, thanks for asking. I literally killed myself the week before because I made that long-ass Star Wars... I don't even remember what videos it were. I made that long-ass Star Wars video on Friday, and then I had to make that Iran video on Saturday, and I was just so burnt out by the time I was done. Oh, yeah, no, it was the worst. I had... Not going away wasn't the worst. Preparing to go away was the worst, so I still had 3 videos up last week. On Saturday, I made that Iran video. On Sunday, I made that Ben Affleck video. So I made 5 videos last week. And then I obviously re-uploaded one for the Friday one. And I did it Friday. So what my week looked like, it was Monday video, Tuesday live stream, Wednesday video, Thursday live stream, Friday video, Saturday video, Sunday video. So I was dead like on Monday morning, and I had to drive to a foresty place. But no, it was nice. That work was not fun though, but it's nice to be back in my old routine and being more chilled and stuff. So got a good idea for a video tomorrow as well, and Friday I got a good one as well. Keir Starmer about to run the Labour Party 5 feet into the ground. Yeah, I can't believe he's not even resigning, and he's trying to blame it on the left. Luna, go with your gut on what you're seeing, because that's the truth. Lefties in England are screwed, yeah. The thing is, I didn't even vote in the elections, and I'm just like gleeful watching the Labour Party implode. Because if they think the strategy has become more right wing, then they got another thing coming. So yeah, I read about that pump action musket about Yang's campaign being basically run by Tusk. And yeah, the NYPD union stuff I saw as well. Yeah, Labour Party has fallen really bad. Bria saying, really happy to be able to catch this stream. I'm sure it's going to be a great one. Let's hope so. But thank you. I'm glad to have you guys here. I didn't vote for the Northern Independent. Is that the Northern Independence Party, or what's the NDL? Oh, the NDL is a stupid meme. I thought you were saying Northern Independence Party. The stupid meme YouTuber guy. No, I didn't vote for him. I didn't vote for anyone. Because, Sadiq Khan's a bit of a snake, but I'd obviously rather him than the Tory candidate, Sean Bailey. the thing with Tulsi, the only thing to like with Yang is the UBI stuff. The only thing to like with Tulsi was her anti-war stuff. But I made a video like even like a year and a half ago saying there's a reason the far right like her, and it's not because she's anti-war. It's because she's anti-American intervention. And then I explained why the far right like that type of crap. Lawrence Fox was your first shot. Oh man, I hate him so bad. He did so poorly. But no, I didn't vote for anyone. Greens came third in London. The Greens actually did pretty well overall, but because we don't have proportional representation, they keep not having much political power. Do I think there's any good US politicians? Yeah, Bernie Sanders, Cory Bush, Jamal Bowman, Ilhan Omar are as good as they can be. AOC is good as well. Maybe not as good as the ones I mentioned before. And is it Katie Porter's the one with the whiteboard? I don't know much about her general politics, but when she's grilling like execs and CEOs, she's pretty good. Yeah, so I like all of them as much as you can like politicians. Yeah, Tulsi is anti-war the same way Andrew Yang is. Oh yeah, Rashida Tlaib as well, yeah. Yang is a crypto-libertarian. I think he's just a weird, like, traditional libertarian. I don't know, like tech bro libertarian. The Musk libertarian, maybe. Reading some more stuff. What do you think is cause of a deficiency in mainstream left-wing parties in the US, UK and Australia? A good policy is not enough to convince voters. I think it's pretty simple in that the right wing control this massive media empire, especially in the UK. The right wing control everything, and it just makes people believe in like an alternate reality essentially. And then you have like more other things like racism and people being very hostile to change. Like I don't know, Jeremy Corbyn said we should educate people about how bad the British Empire was, and then everyone kicked off saying he hated the UK, and like if you say that stuff you hate the UK. So I don't know, loads of crap like that. My dude Cavs knows US politics better than my American friends. Yeah, the thing is, how I kind of built my YouTube initially was people were like, oh wow, this British guy knows more about politics than most Americans. But the thing is, it's not really because like I just randomly know about it. Like a lot of my education was done. So in my history degree, I did the Vietnam War and post-Vietnam foreign policy for my dissertation. And then for my master's, I did US foreign policy, Middle Eastern economics, China, and like the rest of the world, media and war, and some other political theory modules and stuff. So like a ton of my education was actually on US politics. Like my master's thesis was on the first Gulf War and the US involvement in that. So and I've been following US politics for about like pretty closely for 10 years now, I'd say, since 2011. So yeah, I do know US politics pretty well, to be honest. But it's because I'm lucky enough I've had a good education, and it's just something I like as well. Yeah, the Bitcoin capital of the world. Yeah, I was arguing with someone who said that he's like an environmentalist, and I was like, well, why does he want to make like New York a Bitcoin mine then? All right, we're gonna get into the Yang stuff in a sec. Am I planning to do a video on the Murdoch media empire? Probably not. Doesn't really fit in with my style of content. Lots of people have though. Hating the UK is based. I mean, yeah. But if you're trying to be the Prime Minister, you probably don't want people thinking that. Yeah, the King of the North is talking about the Preston model. Yeah, that the more like devolution stuff, is that the right word for it? That the North is talking about, I like. And like Andy Burnham winning is good, even though he's not like the most left-leaning guy, just because he's willing to stand up to the Tories. Couple other like obviously local councils and stuff. Most US citizens don't have the time to figure out how shitty our country is. I think the same with the British people as well. US foreign policy is critical in understanding the current state of geopolitics, and the fact it's considered optional in the US itself is disgraceful. Yeah, like US foreign policy is pretty like wild because I think I spoke about this in the last stream, is that in the US, this is like the myth people were fed about US foreign policy, is that the US only cared about America until World War Two, or like until World War One, and then they decided to become more isolationist. And in World War Two, because they were such good, people in America loved democracy, they had to get involved, and then the leadership of the world fell on them, and begrudgingly they took it upon themselves to be the leaders of the free world. And that's like the narrative you sold. But you're not, you don't learn about, the American colonization of what would become America itself, kicking out obviously natives, but also other colonialists from Spain and France, and then obviously Mexicans, then obviously colonizing places like Hawaii, colonizing places like Puerto Rico, the Philippines, picking up colonies after the Spanish-American War, which that's a part of, and then, even going back to like the mid-1800s, gunboat diplomacy and carving up China with the European colonialists in Japan. And the US foreign policy has always been extremely outward looking, but you get fed this myth that the US only cared about itself until it benevolently decided to take a leading role in world affairs to like save everyone because its economy was booming. It had to share the wealth with the rest of the world and help everyone out of poverty and all this crap. Yeah, this is a good point. Ed's saying, I hate how some Americans say they're centrist, but they're actually right-wing, since they're centrist to American politics, not to the overall political spectrum. Yeah, that's why people, someone got mad at me in one of my videos. They're like, stop calling American conservatives far right because it takes away the meaning of the word. And I just replied to them, like, if you had American conservative beliefs in like a European democracy, you would be on the far right because they're extreme views on Israel, extreme views on Islam, extreme views on Black Lives Matter, extreme views on capitalism, extreme views on basically everything, far right views, nationalist views and things. And you can't argue that this is some sort of centrist conservatism or something. A lot of American conservatism is just far right nationalism, and it's just in a sort of, I don't know, sanitized political package. But what these guys actually say is extremely radical. Is this channel based? I thought you guys just like making fun of wannabe Nazis who simp for old fascist countries. I mean, I like making videos about that. Who's you guys? It's only me who runs it. Thoughts on a new Scottish independence referendum? Yeah, I support that. I want that to happen. I'd love them to become independent as well. Valshbad. I don't know what prompted that. The whole Monroe Doctrine, yeah, like it's like keep your hands off America, but we get to do whatever we want. Yeah, like it was in my Hideo Kojima video on Friday, but sending the U.S. Marines to Nicaragua just to prop up American economic interests. That happened before World War II, and people were saying about the Banana Wars. One of my classmates runs a radical centrist Facebook page. What the hell is that? I don't know what radical centrist is. Alt centrist? Are most conservatives everywhere into nationalism? I don't know. Nationalism, like you have some conservatives in the UK. John Burko's one. Don't know if you've seen him. It's like the order meme. I wouldn't say he's a nationalist. I'd say some conservatives aren't nationalists in the UK. Why do I have a Pornhub tag pulled up? Oh my god, fuck off. Why are you just spamming? Alright, hopefully he's gone. I mean, the thing is, I'd never watch porn on my computer anyway. I'd do it on my phone if I was going to do it. All right, should we get on with the Yang bashing? Any more comments? Okay. Yeah, don't worry. I'm not watching porn on the computer. It's just like got some like hardcore porn up on one of my tabs. Be careful not to actually click it in case I get my channel terminated. Simmer down. Okay, here we go. All right. So I guess I'll explain it to everyone because I appreciate not everyone is on Twitter. Well, let's get ready. Someone actually called me racist for. I'll show you the meme I posted of Andrew Yang. I was like, Andrew Yang's campaign summarized, and it was Michael Scott from The Office, like going around New York, talking about how great it was. So after everything that's been going on with Israel and all the violence they've incited, Andrew Yang, so-called progressive. I'm just already reading. Sorry, I'm just gonna one sec. I'm just gonna check what you guys see. I'm just gonna play the stream. See if it's close enough for everyone to read. I should get my OBS up quick. All right, zoom in one more. Yeah, that's fine. Let me just actually make myself a tiny bit smaller. All right, there we go. So, yeah, after all the violence Israel has been inciting, of course, you saw it in the mosque, them going in. It's just really awful videos. Like, honestly, it makes me fucking sick. It's just really brutal. The one thing I can say is good about all these things, I've never seen such a widespread condemnation of Israel since social media has been massive. Like, I remember the stuff with Gaza in 2014, but it feels like now, thankfully, it's so awful what they're doing. Like, the liberals and the left are sort of united against them, which is something I honestly haven't seen in ages. I don't remember ever seeing it like this, to be honest, which is good. But anyway, so Andrew Yang, in response to this awful stuff, Israel flattening tower blocks in Gaza, for example, really brutal stuff. If you have any humanity and you watch some of these videos, you want to be sick and you're extremely angry. And Andrew Yang tweets to this: "I'm standing with the people of Israel who are coming under bombardment attacks and condemn the Hamas terrorists. The people of NYC will always stand with our brothers and sisters in Israel who face down terrorism." That's bad enough, and persevere. So what do they persevere with? Settler colonialism, taking away people who've lived in certain areas for hundreds of years, taking away their property. Is that what they persevere in doing? Now, some people have said this tweet on its own is not bad. He's condemning terrorism, right? And the difference is, this is the only thing he said about it. He hasn't said anything. Sorry, something's popped up on my screen. He hasn't said anything about Israel. He hasn't said anything about them inciting this. He hasn't said anything about all the nationalist stuff that's been going on there lately in Jerusalem with Israeli Jews and stuff. That's all he said. So just like mainstream media and Western media, they only respond when Hamas, who are obviously the more extreme elements of the Palestinians, respond to Palestine being attacked by Israel, or Jerusalem, or Gaza, or all falls under Palestine. So this is the only thing he tweeted. This so-called progressive, someone who rang to be, the Democratic nominee for president, and many Democrats have called this out. Of course, Joe Biden isn't one of them, but then he's getting dragged by pretty much everyone. So Henry Golding, famous Asian actor, says you're an actual twat. So then Mike, who's, sort of pal of mine. So you're literally defending the Israeli government's ethnic cleansing of Palestinians. What the fuck is wrong with you, Andrew Yang? Are you uninformed or genuinely happy to endorse apartheid? Shame on you. Mike's always got the good takes. Anyone else? So, while she's saying reconsider, he did say some other stuff. So what else is going on here? Before I get to next stuff. Yikes. So yeah, people, maybe a bit shocked because he's presented this image as this like liberal sort of guy, champion things like UBI, and then it turns out he's trash. And people are saying, is he trying to court some segments of the Jewish voting population in New York for the vote and whatever? Doesn't really matter. He's a piece of shit. So we'll play that in a bit. So but look how many pals he's got. So Stephen Miller, awful far-right nationalist, says Andrew Yang is exactly right. Ilhan Omar is outrageously wrong. So loads of other people. Yeah. Oh, is this it? Yeah, here it is. To Ted Cruz, bravo to Yang for opposing the rabidly pro-Hamas and anti-Israel attacks from fellow Dems Omar and Tlaib. And Meghan McCain, Yang Gang. These people are sick in their head. Her dad is a fucking monster, and so is she. Bombing innocent Vietnamese civilians, and now she's celebrating Israel bombing innocent Palestinian civilians. These people are fucking psychopathic. And I want to get into like the Israel stuff broadly on the stream. But maybe I want to play you this. So thankfully, he did get confronted with all this stuff. I can't... We've had some problems with this before. So I'm just going to stick my headphones in so I can listen along, because I did watch it today, but I haven't watched it in a couple hours, so I don't want to be completely off topic. So wait, I'm gonna play you like a couple seconds. Tell me if you can hear it. All right, put W in the chat if you can hear this. Can people hear that? Put W if you can hear that. Someone put W. F. Can't hear it. Okay. Can you hear it now? Put W if you can hear it now.
Directly to New Yorkers right now.
M.
Heartbreaking. It is.
W. Okay, some people, yeah, you can hear it now. Okay. All right, I'm gonna get it up on my iPad so I can listen along, and then we'll get into it. I also love these people's accents, by the way, like proper new. When you hear this clip, tell me what parts of New York these people are from, because I really like their accents. All right, I'm just gonna get it up on my iPad quick so I can watch along. But yeah, I'm glad someone confronted them. These people are, you know, very righteously angry at Yang. So, where is the video? Come on. Andrew Yang is real. Alright, I'll play this for you guys.
So that, what do you have to say about your tweet directly to New Yorkers right now?
It's heartbreaking. Right? It is. People are dying. Do you condemn Israel for that? Do you condemn Israel for their unjust acts against the innocent Palestinians? Sir, I'm talking to him.
We got the publicist over here. We got
I'm
the guy
talking
over
to
here
him.
saying,
We gotta go.
don't say anything
Sir,
that's
you're
gonna fuck up
touching
your
me. Please
campaign.
don't
And
touch
that's
me.
why you don't have my vote, and I guarantee you, you don't have the vote of a lot of New Yorkers.
Sir, I have just one question.
So that, what do you...
I love that woman, man. So right as well. Just like he's getting support from like alt-right white supremacists for his tweet, and that's exactly right. You want to be mayor of like such a diverse city of people from backgrounds who have suffered greatly at the hands of people just like what the Israelis are doing right now. So because you know he's such a little coward that he won't even acknowledge it. So he writes that tweet and then he just carries on like he hasn't done anything. And I'm so happy those people confronted him. And you know, they're speaking for a lot of us. Look at this ratio, man. And don't think these people who are retweeting are always best buddies, because most of them are hating on him. So like, jank. Everyone hating on him. So these retweets aren't, apart from fuckers like that, these retweets aren't like endorsements. So he's getting heavily ratioed for this. I really hope it affects his campaign. But then look, obviously people are still pissed. So in every tweet he writes, people are just fucking dragging him for this stuff. All right, so That is Yang Bang, and how trashy he is. So now, like, I want to get into a bit more about the entire issue, but talking about Yang for a sec, right? I used to initially like him when he first came onto the scene because I thought he, you know, the UBI is an interesting thing to bring up, and he made it like his main issue. I think he did really bad in the debates he was actually in. He sold out bad when he endorsed Biden for seemingly no reason. Like, did Biden really even care about his endorsement? But then I do remember, I'm gonna try and find it. On his campaign website for president, if I can still find it, his foreign policy was really crap. And when he was on, I watched him with Joe Rogan once, and he was just literally a neocon on foreign policy. I'm gonna go on his website now. I'm gonna have a look if I can actually find what I'm talking about. Andrew Yang for president website. I don't know if it's, did they close it down afterwards, or is he? I think he's changed it to the mayor website. Actually, no. Here we go. Yang 2020 on the issues. Let's go up on them. Yeah, I got them here. So this is his campaign website. I'm trying to find where he talks about foreign policy to show you that he's always been trash. I mean, southern border security might be one. Human-centered capitalism. All right, let's have a look. All white papers. Healthcare in America. Restoring democracy. Combating gun violence. I don't know if he's taken it down, but I read something on it. So, foreign policy. Let's have a look. Foreign policy first principles. Okay, let's have a look at this first. And we'll have the positive use of military experience second. Okay, let's go. Okay, I don't know if it is this. I'm going to have a quick read through. Okay, it must have actually been what he said on Joe Rogan rather than what I read. Alright, I can't find it here, but it must have been on Joe Rogan where he just was talking about like neocon foreign policy, especially in regards to like things like Israel and NATO and everything. Alright. Maybe for another stream. Let me just get the chat up on my thing. Alright. So, yeah, so Yang has always been trash, and why he's been weird is because, for me, he's been like a Silicon Valley, like, tech bro, like Elon Musk, and I was reading other reports about his crappy business ventures and who's funding his campaign. So, in my mind, he's just someone like Michael Bloomberg, just someone who's very rich, has maybe one good policy idea in concept, but the way he's articulated UBI isn't good. I've said to someone I was arguing with that, like John McDonnell in the UK and the Labour Party and everything have articulated a way better version of UBI, where it's like everyone gets a certain amount, but then it stacks and stacks depending on what you need, like child benefit or other things like that. So you get more and more if you need more and more, but everyone gets, you know, a certain amount. So that was something he wasn't even good at in the first place. And yeah, he was pathetic in the debates, really rubbish. Didn't really offer a point of view in terms of anything else but UBI. So it's not surprising that he's got this awful foreign policy. Now, what I want to talk about, I was speaking to my mum today about it, because, you know, this stuff's really been disturbing me. And she was saying, like, I don't know enough about the situation in Israel. I don't know enough about it. Can I really have an opinion about it? And I was saying, Yes, it's very okay. I'm going to pull up this book because I really wrote this book, even though it's by a BBC journalist, because I think it's really good at. So it's about the 6 Days War, 1967, and it's really, really good at giving you like a first-hand account of the Israeli leadership, the Israeli politicians, the people in charge of the Israeli army, but also personal accounts of people in the Jordanian army, Syrian army, Egyptian army, people in the leadership of these countries, also the Palestinians, and then at the end of the book, because you might get an impression as you're reading it, it's by Jeremy Bone, by the way. I'd seriously recommend this book. It's really, really good. Not perfect, but really good. And then you get about halfway in the book, and you're like, this is humanizing the Israelis quite a lot. It's really putting me in the Israeli shoes for the most part. But then you slowly get more and more into the war, and you get into how Israel conducted itself in the war. You know, attacking a U.S. Navy ship, bombing Red Cross refugee camps of Palestinians, ethnically cleansing Palestinians. Awful shit. And I think this is essential reading because it humanizes the Israelis, which makes it even more distressing with what they did, because a lot of the people in this book that they're talking about were either Jewish partisans who had fought the Nazis or just like survivors of like the Holocaust and stuff. So then it's even more distressing when you hear how out of control a lot of them are. And I think it's very good at also showing you how the US became so closely aligned with Israel, because what people don't really realize is the US did not like Israel when it first was formed. The big allies of Israel to start with were France and Great Britain. And obviously you have that stuff to do with, you know, Colonel Nasser and Egypt in the 50s between them, where they conspired to do it all. But yeah, what the US saw in the 6 Days War was a military power that they could ally with in the Middle East to help with their own interests, because what people were surprised by were how effective the Israeli military was, and how well led it was, and how well trained it was, and how it could rapidly deploy, tanks, and how good its planes were. And also, what people also think now is that Israel must have always had an amazingly equipped military. But what you realize in the book is that Israel didn't have didn't have the best equipment. Basically, what they had was like old stuff from World War II that the Allies had given them in a lot of ways, or the Russians had given them, because the Russians in Israel used to be close initially when it was formed. A lot of people used to say, it's America's worst nightmare. What people used to frame the Israelis as their socialist Jewish state. It's literally America's worst nightmare. But in this book, you see why the US do like them and why they actually let them off for attacking that US Navy ship. I think they killed like 100 people. So it's a very good book, but that is all important context. And I've talked about in my degree in history and stuff. I've done a lot of stuff on Middle Eastern history, especially Israeli history, going back to the Jewish war with Rome. The Jewish war with Rome was at 79 AD, and there's a Jewish guy who was captured by the Romans and then made like the biographer of the Roman emperor. Is it Tacitus, or is Tacitus' son? And it's interesting because he's a Hellenized Jew who writes about this stuff. It's interesting to read all this stuff and then also read about the context of how the Bible was written, the New Testament, in the aftermath of things like Rome burning the temple in Jerusalem. And that stuff's all super important. And it's really important to know about the history of Zionism and how the movement for Israel was started by Palestinian Jews. And Palestinian Jews who would attack the British. And that's something we don't really talk about, is that these, the movement for Israel started with these guys who would do terrorist attacks against British people. And then what obviously happened after World War II is you have a lot of Eastern European Jews and Western European and people obviously from other countries fleeing, people who fled Greece, people who fled Bulgaria. They come and reinforce a lot of these Palestinians, and then they start obviously the war to take over this land to create the Israeli state. And a lot also it's really nuanced in the sense that a lot of the Jews who came to settle what became Israel, they didn't even believe in the religious aspect. They didn't care for it. A lot of them were socialists, a lot of them were secularists, a lot of them were atheists as well. They didn't believe in Judaism. And that's why you often have a lot of people who are really religious Jewish people who do not believe that Israel should be a state, because in their mind, the only Jerusalem and like New Kingdom Jerusalem is the new Jerusalem that will be formed, in heaven essentially. It's not, and in the end times, that's when their new country will be given to them by God. But what happened after the 6 Days War, and very interesting, this book goes into it, how more secular Israeli nationalism blended with the religious part, because there was this one rabbi, because like we're saying, the religious people didn't necessarily, especially religious Palestinian Jews, didn't really like this state of Israel being established, but there was one rabbi, I forget what his name was, he blended the Israeli nationalism, the secular nationalism, and he mixed it with the religious aspects. And from that then on, you have this really toxic blend of ethnic and religious nationalism that sort of inspires these guys to settle more. And the book even goes into the early days of the settlements. They used to the Israeli settlers used to go into Syrian territory and drive their tractor over the border, and then the Syrians would start shooting at the tractors, and then the Israelis would then airstrike the Syrians, and then they'd keep moving further and further and further. And these people, the settlers, it was talking about like their ideology. These settlers were very religious, a lot of them, believing, in what like evangelical Christians believe, in the right to the whole of biblical Israel should be for the Jews and everything. And so I told, a lot of you guys might not have known this stuff, and I've just told you about it. And it's all super important to know the history, and it's super important to know the geopolitical significance of this country, and very interesting. I'm not always saying people in Israel, and when it humanizes these people, like you have people who literally had to flee their countries because of the Nazis, and then they're in Israel, and then you have Nasser and other people on the radio talking about killing them all. And that's why the book is good at humanizing these people, while still essentially not even condemning them as a political fact, but condemning them through telling you about their actions. And that's what's really interesting. But then on a fundamental level, you can push all that stuff aside, because with stuff like Andrew Yang and everything, we're not talking about what the solution to this stuff is. We're not talking, should it be a 2-state solution? Should it be a 1-state solution? We're not getting into the super complicated things, which do require loads of nuance, loads of historical understanding, loads of understanding of where the various Palestinian groups and where the various Israeli groups are all coming from. None of that is even relevant to this discussion, because what you have is you have an area that is East Jerusalem, which is recognized by many countries as Palestinian territory. Obviously, under Trump, the US moved their embassy to Jerusalem. Australia moved their embassy to Jerusalem. Some other countries did as well. So it's a push to take over the whole of Jerusalem, because Israel believe Jerusalem is their capital and it's just for them. It's not for the Palestinians. But in the context, just what you're seeing Israeli aggression. You're seeing Israeli soldiers go into these territories, forcefully evict people who've lived there for hundreds of years, go into mosques and beat children and women and gas children and women. You do not need any historical understanding to condemn that, to say it's wrong. And when you have the backlash by an extremist group like Hamas, who do attack back, everyone knows that because Israel has Iron Dome, it's not really going to affect Israel. Of course it will in some regards, and sometimes it does hurt the Israelis, but the response is so over the top. Like when you see tower blocks being leveled by Israeli airstrikes, Gaza is one of the most densely populated places in the world, and they're launching airstrikes in it. And when you see that stuff, yes, you can condemn Hamas if you want. But if that is the only thing you're condemning in this awful situation, it says so much about you, and it says you're on the side of the oppressors and stuff. Again, we don't even need to get into, should Israel exist? What's the solution? What do the Palestinians want? What do the Israelis want? This stuff doesn't even matter on the surface for this one issue. You just see it, you have a gut reaction, this is sickening, this is wrong, this shouldn't be happening. We can get into all the nuance and nitty-gritty a lot later. And Andrew Yang can't even bring himself to sort of say, both sides calm down and let's sort this out. He can't even bring himself to say that. He just says, I condemn what the Palestinians are doing. I'm standing with Israel and we should persevere. And it's about who has the power in the situation. And what people often can't do, like I'm talking about the history, people who do know the history often cannot divorce the history. Like I said, with this book, humanizing people who suffered greatly at the hands of the Nazis, who then lived in Israel and then, were fearful for their lives during these wars and stuff. They cannot divorce that from what is happening right now, where Israel has one of the most powerful militaries in the world, has the backing of some of the most powerful countries in the world, has now even alliances with the Arab states that it used to be enemies with, and it has backing of these Arab states as well. And it is directly, oppressing a group that have barely any military power, no political power, not even recognized by many of the powerful countries as a state in itself. And you're trying to compare them as, equal in this violence or anything like that. It's totally ridiculous, and it's sickening, because one group, these guys, Gaza, here's a good disparity, and we're talking about economics here. Israel exports water. In Gaza, I think it's 90% of the population cannot get access to regular clean water. And the Israelis say Palestine's not a state. Okay, then if this area is not a state, why don't you look after them? If this is meant to be Israel, if Jerusalem is meant to be Israel, if all these places are meant to be Israel, why don't you look after them as your citizens in these countries? You have other Muslims in your countries, you have other Palestinians living in Israel, and you treat them like garbage. You treat the Ethiopian Jews that you rescued in 1984 like total shit. Why, but they don't care, because it's this, horrible. And if we're talking about nuance, of course there's many Israelis, there's communist Israelis, there's Israelis who are totally against this. So I'm not going to paint them all with the same brush, but there is a significant portion of Israelis and the government of Israel and their supporters who buy into ethno-nationalism. It's not even just about the state of Israel. It's about getting rid of all these people who aren't Israelis, who aren't Jewish Israelis in a lot of cases. And even sometimes who are not white Jewish Israelis, because you're trying to get rid of the Ethiopian Jews, who many Israelis don't actually consider Jews. So this strain of nationalism the government has been really getting into. And if you read the history of Israel, you can see many things. Like, they didn't used to be, even though a lot of them were fanatics, not all of them were fanatics. Not all of them were totally insane like Netanyahu. Not all of them, a lot of them regretted this stuff later on. This government of Israel right now does not regret this stuff. It's been emboldened, and the actions of them right now is the actions of a country who knows they can get away with it. It reminds me of Russia and Putin. It reminds me of the Saudis. It reminds me of all these countries that know they're untouchable, because they know either their allies won't, reprimand them for it, like America or the UK, or like in Russia's case, they know the West does not have the will to seriously oppose Russian actions because they don't want to get into a war with Russia. And it's, you see in Eastern Ukraine or Crimea, it has to all be about proxies. And it feels the same, it feels even worse in Israel's case, really, because the US is meant to, and the UK, a lot of them call for a two-state solution. So you're just going to sit back while one of the states tries to erase the other state, essentially. So it's been like, the Israeli response to this has been so over the top. And like I said, you can just see on the surface, this is wrong what they're doing. And I don't care. Like, if you support Israel as a state, if you think Israel has a right to exist, if you think groups like Hamas are causing problems, I don't even care about that, because even if you feel that way, you know what the Israelis are doing in the recent months is totally wrong. You know it. And for the people who are sitting on the fence and think they can't have opinions about this stuff, and it's hard. I got harassed at work last year. Some sort of like Zionist blog was trying to get me fired because I said that like they weren't distributing health supplies to Gaza enough during the pandemic and stuff like that. So I get it can be hard to speak up about this stuff, and I can get it can be scary. Like Israel, Palestine, no one here would have been alive when this wasn't a problem. And it can be hard sometimes to be like, well, I don't know about it, so what can I say? But again, you can just say about, this is wrong. Like when you see the George Floyd stuff, if you're not a total sicko, if you're not, a psychopath, you watch that and you feel sick and it's wrong. And like conservatives like to say, well, he was a bad guy, so who cares? And he wasn't a bad guy, but like, even if he was the worst criminal ever, it makes you sick because of what these guys did to someone who was unarmed and not threatening them. And it's the same with the Israelis. And also, I think the problem sometimes comes from people's background, because I come from a background, obviously I've talked about it a lot. I come from a background, so all my grandparents are Irish, and then, you know, grandparents' siblings, like my grandma's siblings, fought in the IRA. And then I have other relatives who fought in the Easter Rising and were executed and stuff. And then you think about, you know, when you think about Israel, and it's no surprise that Ireland has a lot of solidarity with the Palestinians, because you think about Ireland, there's so many similarities there, and what the English did, and how the Irish had to fight back, and then were condemned. And I'm not really comparing the IRA with Hamas, because I don't think it's a completely accurate comparison, just because of the IRA's ideology was socialist revolutionary, where Hamas's ideology is Islamic fundamentalist. I don't think it's, you know, the most compatible groups of people. But of course, throughout its history, Palestinians had other militant groups that fought in these wars and stuff. And I love the pearl clutching, and even, yeah, it is Hamas doing it. But Israel, their response is always totally disproportionate and awful. And you can't justify it. And if social media was around in the 70s, people would be saying about Bloody Sunday, oh, that's good, the British killed another IRA terrorist, when they killed these civilians and stuff. And it's just so sickening to see. It's like history repeating itself. It's the powerless being constantly hurt and killed by the powerful, seemingly without consequences. And it happened in Ireland, and it's happening in Palestine. It's happening in Kashmir as well, from the Indians, doing to the Kashmiris who want self-determination. And it's just a depressing world we live in, where so many people will jump on the side of the oppressors just because they have no understanding of what it feels like, or they have no, you know, I don't have this understanding, right? So, like, I'm white, British, I have an Irish surname, our family's assimilated, we all have English accents and stuff. No one's going to call me out for being Irish. It doesn't really exist here anymore. But if I was born 70 years ago, I would be treated differently, and I'd be treated like shit, to be honest. And I think sometimes people don't realise, like, Andrew Yang's, you know, motivations might be very cynical. I don't know what his familial background is, for example. Maybe he does understand this stuff, and maybe he's just a complete fucking sellout. But when you have a background where you know, your grandparents, or, you know, their relatives, their siblings have suffered at the hands of powerful oppressors, and they've been constantly demonized for trying to fight against their, like, own oppression, and they've been painted as the bad guys, is Palestinians who throw rocks at tanks and armoured cars that the Israelis have are demonised. Israelis who go into people's houses and expel them and kill them, that's not talked about. And it's just, you know, a sickening state of affairs. And that's why I said the one thing that's given me a bit of hope, it feels like more people are talking about this stuff. Loads of footballers have come out and said it. Famous footballers, Mo Salah and Sadio Mane, who play for Liverpool. Some Man United footballers said it today as well. And but it's annoying. It's only the Muslim footballers. Well, where are the British footballers saying this stuff? Where are the Irish footballers saying this stuff? Where was any Western footballer? Why does it have to be black Muslims from France, or Muslims from Egypt, or, you know, some, you know, countries in Africa like Cameroon and stuff, or Kenya? Why does it have to be them? Why can't you use some of your fucking, you know, standing as a white British person and come out and say this is wrong? And you might say, I don't know enough about it. What? So these poor, extremely, these guys, especially a lot of French footballers, who literally come to France as the poorest refugees, they understand it, or they can say something about it, but you can't. Someone who's had the benefit of growing up in a country like the UK, where you at least get a decent education. These people who come from nothing, from Africa, to come play football, and they can say stuff because, you know, they're Muslim and stuff, and you don't care, and you won't back them up or anything. So it's just very annoying. Why does it seem when it comes to this stuff, people have to have either a background in it themselves or a family background in it to actually understand it and say anything? And like I said, I'm privileged enough. I've lived the privileged life in the UK. I haven't faced discrimination. But just simply because I know like my family would have. I know like my family background. I know like where I stand from that, because why would I take the side of people who do the exact same shit as the people who used to do to, you know, my family and where I'm from? Why would I take their side? Or why would I not understand it? Yes, I can disagree with Hamas. Yes, I can disagree with terrorism. Terrorism is awful, but terrorism isn't just groups like Hamas. Terrorism isn't just the IRA. It's the British Army. It's the Israeli Defense Force. They do terrorism. They terrorize people. They do extrajudicial killings of civilians. That's what, you know, we monopolize violence, and it's a problem with liberalism in general, where bombing a densely populated city, that's fine, but shooting a rocket back is terrorism. Flattening tower blocks is fine, because you're doing it with a jet aircraft that the US has given you. But them slinging a rock at your head from across the border is terrorism. It's just, you know, fucking sickening. It's just like what do you do? It's like Andrew Yang's just like a small symptom, but it's whole governments. Where's Joe Biden on this stuff? You know, he's part of the Democrats in the 90s. Didn't the Democrats in the 90s have a massive push for peace and a two-state solution? And they like what they're seeing right now, do they? It's just, you know, just I can't even watch some of these videos, man. Like Sean King, I know people don't like him, but he was sharing a lot of them on Instagram. I was like, literally gives me anxiety watching some of that shit, because it's just like, it's so fucking awful. And I said to my girlfriend, like, I have quite a good filter. Like, I can watch really awful real shit and not have it affect me, but like this stuff for some reason has really got to me. And I just can't watch it anymore. It's just really fucking awful. And again, I'm not someone who lacks nuance on these issues. I think I'm actually pretty educated on Israel in general, and Israeli politics and Israeli history. And I have a lot of sympathy for the Jewish people in general. Like, as someone who's, you know, done a lot of medieval history, including Spain, the Jews have historically been treated like absolute garbage, like throughout their whole history. Literally from different groups like the Persians or some groups, you know, one of the Greek empires and the Romans, they've been treated really badly. And then you have it, the whole medieval period of them being treated totally awfully in Christian countries. And it culminates in something like the Holocaust and stuff. And you can have great sympathy for that. You can even, you know, even from that perspective, you can understand why some of them think they have to have their own country, because you know the history and stuff. But when you get into the history and when you really read about it, and you know, for me, I don't really care about if Israel should exist or not, because in my mind, you guys know how I feel about countries. I don't think most countries should exist. If Israel shouldn't exist, the US shouldn't exist. And I know some people back me up on that, because it's the same type of shit. Most borders and countries are meaningless and dumb in my opinion. I've said this a million times. So I'm not going to get bogged down in the issue of what country should exist. But when you read about how this country was founded, just like the US, founded in blood and ethnic cleansing, and it was immense brutality between these people and hatred between these groups of people. And the thing with the Palestinians in general, if you know Palestinian history, the Palestinians have never really controlled their own destiny. You know, the Ottoman Empire, sometimes, because it's, you know, spans over like 500 years, the Ottoman Empires, sometimes the Palestinians did have more self-governance of themselves. Other times they didn't. Sometimes they would administer their own affairs under control of like Ottomans who controlled the region. And then sometimes the Ottomans would take direct control. And the British obviously came in after World War One. Palestinian territories often did have a degree of control, still the British who have the final say. And then you obviously have the Palestinian Jewish movement to create Israel. And then you have the war, which leads to the formation of it and stuff. And it's, you know, it's a brutal conflict, and like many wars of, you know, stuff like this happens, it's very comparable to the US's own formation. And, you know, it's like more modern countries seem to have that, because countries like England are a bit different in their formation, in that it's just, you know, lots of warring kingdoms, like little kingdoms that, you know, are forged between, you know, the native stuff doesn't really have as much relevant in the context of things like England. Of course, you can go back to the Romans and stuff, but it's more about these tales of assimilation. So the Romans conquer the Britons, and then what happens is many of the Britons just accept it and assimilate to Roman culture. so it fades away and stuff. While the stuff like the US and Israel, it's more about ethnic cleansing and being like, this is mine, this territory is now mine, you get out. And it's a bit different from maybe like ancient history, where it's a bit more about, we own you now, and then it becomes assimilation and stuff. So, and that's where like sort of apartheid stuff comes in, like in South Africa. It's like, this is ours, you guys are subservient to us, you do not have the same rights to us, you're not going to mix. You know, the Romans, for how bad they were, the Roman stuff wasn't as much like that. It's like, if you assimilated and became a Roman, you were a Roman. Rome had black emperors from Africa. It wasn't like a racist society in the way we understand it and stuff. Whereas that's not happening in Israel. That's not going to happen. It wasn't going to happen in South Africa. It probably still won't happen in South Africa. And this is how you get these like apartheid regimes. And people, you know, like to, I think apartheid sometimes, not that I disagree with its use, but I think it can put people off in the sense that to them apartheid is just white South Africans versus black South Africans, and they think like it has to be a stark disparity. And because Israel is more complicated, because you have actually different races of people in Israel who are Jewish, and you have even non-Jewish people in Israel, because you have Arab Christians and Palestinian Christians and other different groups of Christians, they like to say, you know, it's not apartheid. But again, it goes into the point that Israel doesn't accept Palestine exists, and Israel, sorry, someone in the chat saying some shit. Sorry. Right, I'm just cleaning up the chat. I think that was just one guy. Sorry, I haven't read the chat. I'm going to go back and read it in a sec. Russia and China have no race problems. China has massive race problems because it's one race of people in China who think they're superior, the Han Chinese ethnicity, and think it's like their destiny to like be the top country in the world. But sorry, what was I talking about? The apartheid stuff. But it's different. It's like it's division based on religion and race. And even though Israel is more diverse than somewhere like, you know, South Africa, in terms of like the group that have the most rights in Israel aren't all just white people. They aren't all just white Jews. But, you know, there's still a group in Israel, and what, you know, these guys say, Palestine doesn't exist, Jerusalem is Israel, but they're treating these guys like crap. So, again, it's just a really sad state of affairs. And like I said, I'm not totally unsympathetic to, like, Jewish history, and even the Jews who founded Israel. Some of it was fucking awful. But at the end of the day, just like the US, what this country was founded on was brutal violence and brutal ethnic cleansing. And in my mind, the Palestinians have always been the victims across the various empires that owned the region, whether that's the Ottomans, whether that is the British and stuff, and now the Israelis. And they're often used as political pawns. Like when you read if you guys get the book and read the book that I recommended, you'll see how they were often left to rot, the Palestinians. They were sold out by the Egyptians, they were sold out by the Jordanians, they were sold out by many people. So they go into battle, they go to fight the Israelis, and then the support, and you know, the Egyptians just retreat without telling them, and then they all just die. And then loads of other awful shit happens. So it's a very it's a super complicated issue. And I'll never pretend it's not a complicated issue, but like I said, what we're seeing lately is not a complicated issue. It's a very, very clear issue, and you should know where to stand on this issue. And like I said, whether you support Israel doesn't matter. If you know, whether you condemn the Palestinians in general, or anything like, you know, condemn the way they're going about trying to create a country, or whatever you think they're doing wrong, it doesn't matter, because when you see women and children who are praying during a holy month getting brutalized by a heavily militarized defense force, then you're gonna tell me, like Andrew Yang, you're on the side of them. You're on the side of people who are leveling apartment blocks with jet planes. These are the good guys, are they? It's just it's a really shitty world we live in. And why does it have to be like one last thing I end this little rant on before I read the comments is that it's funny that all the colonialist countries are the ones who allied together, and can't see anything wrong with this, where all the people who were colonized are the ones who stand up for the Palestinians. Why does it have to be like that? And it shows how little has changed in America and in Great Britain and France, that these governments have unwavering support for Israel no matter what. And I think maybe, is it maybe because condemning this country would be like admitting to yourself that your own country's fucked up and it's built on the same sort of shit you're seeing right now in Israel and stuff? Alright, little drink, and I'll read some comments. I've seen that I've got some donations, so I'm gonna go through that as well. But yeah, I've been wanting to talk about this stuff all, but it's been really fucking pissing me off. All right, let's go through some comments now. All right, thanks so much, Nolan, for the $10 donation. Hope you're still here. Nolan saying, I feel bad for Yang because supporting Israel is just a standard take for American politicians, but I think we should treat all politicians who support Israel that way, to be honest. Yeah, but Nolan, I agree to some extent, but the difference with Yang is he never condemned the Israelis. And I said, even if he did that, like, come together and find peace, Israel and Palestine. Like, we want to end this violence. He didn't even do that. He just backed the Israelis. And that is so telling. Read some more comments. Josephus, that's who I was talking about earlier, yeah. Revolutionary Comrade, thanks so much. Down with fascist Israel, freedom for Palestinians, freedom for the Palestinians. Thanks so much for the $10, man. Appreciate it. So yeah, Red Leader talking about the Orthodox Jews viewing the state of Israel as sacrilege. Yeah, that's what I was speaking about a bit earlier. So reading some more stuff. Andrew Yang is a fascist. I mean, I think he's just a sellout, to be honest. He deserves to be bodied for this shit. Yeah, exactly. Israel treats Ethiopian Jews like rubbish. Yeah, I listened to a good podcast about a year ago. He was just interviewing an Ethiopian Jew who was airlifted to Israel, just talking about how crap he's been treated since he's got there. Reading some more. The Tabernacle and most people here like Hamas. How have I even said that? I'm going to block this guy. I don't know when I indicated I like them. I literally call them Islamic extremists. Am I an Islamic extremist? Katie, thanks so much for the donation. I really, really appreciate that. $20. You're way too kind. Katie saying, I watched a video on how different Israelis who move from other countries basically erase their own heritage because they need to assimilate into Israeli culture. That is kind of cultural genocide to Israel. Yeah, like it's definitely an interesting thing. I bookmarked this thing about Russians in Israel and I really want to read it. But yeah, no, it's interesting. I guess it's like with many different things, isn't it? Like you have to assimilate. But yeah, it is like a pretty diverse country. You even read that in the book. How they view each other is really interesting. Like how the Palestinian Jews view the Russian Jews, and it's very different in terms of like they even have some sort of racial biases against each other, even though they're meant to be like united in this nation stuff. Reading some more stuff. Sorry, there's a lot of comments to get through. Someone saying Israel's doing exactly the same thing that Christian colonialists did to my people, Native Americans. They're putting the Palestinians in reservations. Yeah, and the native stuff is still ongoing in America and Canada as well. His parents were from Taiwan, so is he just like some big Chiang Kai-shek supporter or some shit like that? So just reading some more. who are all these people? How are so many randos like finding my chat and stuff? Okay, we're talking about yeah, someone's talking about the Mongols. Did the Mamluks own Palestine at that point in history? Mamluks are crazy, man. It's like, aren't Mamluks like they were Russian slaves sold by the Venetians to the Arabs, who then put them all in the army, and then they did a coup later on and just became the rulers of the Arab Empire. Yeah, sorry, there's a couple trolls in the chat. I'm the only one who can get rid of people. Oh, King Cyrus, thanks so much for the $5, man. So I'm going to read your comment. It's just gone away. This crap is pissing me off so many ways. My brother who lives in Israel predicted Israel's going to become the new apartheid. Yeah, like, I wonder how much this will affect things. Will people just forget this in a couple of weeks? It's been brewing for a bit in the last couple of months. Sorry, just more trolls. Andrew Yang supports universal income and is very progressive. No, he's not. So King Sarah saying Andrew Yang is just horrible and a fraud. His universal income was bullshit, especially his supposed New York City plan. Yeah, apparently I've read that like it's his, is it like $2,000 for the year or some shit with his UBI. Nathan saying, I'm actually surprised by Starmer's statement. The fact that he got so much backlash shows that, yeah, exactly. I couldn't believe he said it. Because of course he'd been he thinks he's gonna be called anti-Semitic, and didn't is it the Board of Deputies said all this shit was like racist and stuff. Yeah, Nathan, like, why do Zionists think Hamas represents all Palestinians? It's super fucking interesting. Is that like the Palestinians are quite secular for Arab Muslims, and of course like the leader of them before Hamas were more secular Palestinians, and Hamas was elected because of the frustration with these people, because a lot of Palestinians thought they were selling them out to the West. And an example I've used before in the elections, is it 2004, 2006? Palestinian Christians voted for Hamas, and I think that says it all. Why would Palestinian Christians vote for Islamic extremists? It's because these guys painted themselves as the only ones who stand up for you. And how desperate do you have to be to vote for them? Do I read some more stuff? Seems like yeah, Palestinians are more. It's like Saudis were more secular. Or I guess secular is the wrong term for the 1700s, but they weren't. They were more like liberal Muslims before the Saudis conquered Arabia. Yeah, I read something about Israel helping Hamas grow, but I need to actually watch it. I didn't watch it. I saw it pop up on my timeline. But yeah, no, it's definitely an interesting history. Hamas is one thing I'm not as informed as, something more informed than something like Hezbollah than Hamas. But yeah, the thing is, I love religious history and I love Middle Eastern history. So reading about this stuff is all really fascinating and interesting to me. But then history is shitty, and the stuff that's going on is a result of these sort of things being unchecked, and that's why Trump was such a disaster for the region, just because the US right now, the relationship with these Arab countries is really strong, but then Trump also emboldened the Israelis to take these sorts of steps. In my mind, this is a result of him and Jared Kushner really emboldening Netanyahu to do this stuff, and then it feels like Netanyahu's using this crisis to paper over that isn't he still on trial for fucking corruption as well. He's the worst, man. But as you get older, you just realize you just can't do anything. Like, that's why I'm such a pessimist, and also that's why sometimes I call myself left wing anti capitalist rather than socialist, mainly because like I feel like to be socialist, I don't know if this is true, but I feel like to be socialist you have to have some sort of semblance of like hope in humanity and thinking humanity overall is good. And I really don't think humanity is good, like at the end of the day. And that's why maybe I don't believe like socialist societies are possible, and the best thing that I can do is just be in opposition to this horrible like capitalist world order we've got and stuff. But it feels pretty hopeless, to be honest, with all this shit. But you know, it's just a frustrating thing to see, and like things like Ireland maybe give people hope, but that's just so messy as well. Like, do we want that in other countries? Just how awful Ireland was for people to get this diplomatic solution that maybe one day it'll be united, but who knows how long that will take. It's obviously people fighting for their rights, but then the thing is, what happens with the Irish stuff is that the most powerful country on earth was largely on the side of republicanism. Many people in the US, private citizens, funded the Republicans in Ireland. And they don't have that in Israel. You don't have, loads of very rich Americans funding the Palestinians. Lots of Americans took the side of the Irish because Americans are Irish themselves. So in that context, the Americans played a massive role in getting peace in the Good Friday Agreement. That's not going to happen in Palestine and Israel. Also, it's just something we talk about. Is like, I made that video, didn't I, about evangelicals, and yeah, let's get it up. We had this video.
This pandemic is crippling.
I got an ad on my own video. Sorry, I'll turn this down. But yeah, it's just here we were talking about this crazy white evangelical ideology, which is so dehumanizing to both of them. That's the funny thing. These evangelicals are so dehumanizing. Like, people like this fucking guy. They see the Palestinians as subhuman and non-human. They're just in the way of Israel, claiming greater biblical Israel. But the only reason they want biblical Israel is so they can trigger Armageddon, where most Jews will be killed. Like, this ideology, but these people have so much influence and power in America. So Trump's not only so bad for his foreign policy, he's so bad because of who these fucking people. He put these people in his cabinet. Mike Pompeo. He had Mike Pence as his vice president. People who believe this fucking shit. And that's the sort of stuff you've got to deal with in America. These guys' influence on the whole conversation around Israel. Like, these people will be funding Ted Cruz. These people will be funding all these different guys. And they don't even like Israel in the way you think. They see Israel as a tool to achieve Armageddon, biblical Armageddon, because they want Israel to go to war with Iran. It's just maddening. But the thing is, right, to your average person, I'm happy you guys like these videos, but imagine just talking to your average person about this evangelical Christian stuff in Israel. Like, imagine trying to convince the average person that these guys actually believe this shit. Yeah, the Vice President of the United States literally likes Israel because he wants them to trigger Armageddon. That's just like... And the guy who's in charge of the CIA and the State Department, and he was Secretary of State and stuff, he believes in that stuff. He believes in the rapture and Armageddon. And he thinks this one country on Earth is key to causing this to happen. And this country is a strong ally of the US. It sounds like I'm crazy saying this stuff, but it's true, and it's just so annoying. Like, people would get bored of you talking about this to them because they'd think you've gone crazy, and think you've been smoking too much weed and watching too much Joe Rogan. But it's like 100% what's going on in America right now. This is why the conversation, like, people, I think sometimes wrongly, people think that Israel itself is the only one influencing the conversation on Israel through lobbying groups in America, right? I would say these guys, evangelical Christians, are the main culprits. These are the guys manipulating the conversation, not Israelis for the most part. Because we like to talk about AIPAC and stuff. These guys are way worse and they have way more influence than AIPAC. They have people who get in the US government. They essentially had a president. They had two presidents, Ronald Reagan and Donald Trump. Even though he wasn't as outwardly like them, George Bush as well, you can make a case for as well. People who absolutely believe this stuff, and if they don't believe this stuff, they are absolutely in bed with these donors who do believe this stuff and push for this stuff. So that's the thing. And they're racist, and they're completely racist against Jewish people and Israeli Jews, and they see them as pawns in their biblical prophecy. So now you get me started on what they think about Palestinians. They think it's just all go away. It's just absolutely like insane to me. And AIPAC obviously does have an influence. I'd say AIPAC's influence is more on like the Democrats rather than on the Republicans, because I say these guys are the ones who truly control what the Republicans say about Israel, I think. Because they have so much influence. They're so wealthy. They're so well connected. And they believe this fucking crap as well. Alright, I'm gonna read some more stuff. Where are all these crazy people coming from? Read some more comments. Nathan saying, it's interesting how mainstream US support for Irish republicanism was during the Troubles. I read that Republican Congressman Peter King supported the IRA and was shocked to learn they were socialist. That's not really surprising. I guess they just saw it as like Irish nationalism or some shit. I'll read some more comments. Biden and Netanyahu are best pals. I mean, they've always been pretty cozy, the US with the Israelis. The only good thing about Obama is that he pissed the Israelis off, but he still went along with them at the end of the day. Sure, I'm going through the comments more. Evangelicalism is such a fucking awful ideology. It's just, did I ask this last time? I was saying I think people told me last time, I was like, why do American Christians believe in Armageddon, but I was raised Catholic and I never even heard about it? I guess it's just the different strands of Christianity where one's talking about the end of the world and one's like, yep, you die and go to heaven. And there's no hell. Apparently, Catholics think there's no hell now, so that's good. Do you think Yang shouldn't have said anything about the conflict? Well, why couldn't he just called for peace if he had to say something? If he wanted to be centrist, it just shows when he backs one side. Yeah, Nico, there's not as much as push for bipartisanship, but Keir Starmer has been sort of talking about national unity because of the pandemic, which is fucking stupid because in World War II, the Labour Party obviously attacked Winston Churchill to get him out of government. He got kicked out of office before the end of the war. So I read some more stuff. Politics should be formed in a pub. Well, the American Revolution was formed in a pub, and that didn't go so well for a lot of people in America. But yeah, Karl Marx, wrote all his stuff in a pub. So I read some more stuff. Millennial. Am I even a millennial? Aren't I Gen Z? Wait, what is 1995? Is it Gen Z or millennial? So someone tagging me. Calvinism, because the people that left the Anglican Church come over to the colonies because Britain was too liberal in the 1600s. I guess Britain was trying to tolerate Catholicism back then a bit more. But yeah, no, it is weird how different they are. Wait, is this Gerard guy just a troll? Okay, so some of them trying to work out who's what. Starmer sounds like British Biden Clinton. Yeah, he's like trying to be British Biden. Apart from Boris Johnson isn't totally insane, so you can't just do nothing like Donald Trump and people will just be like, oh, I'll vote for you because you're not Trump. Because what happens is people actually like Boris Johnson, and they don't like Keir Starmer. They don't even know who he is. So he just did nothing at the local elections and he just got crushed. It's so stupid. Yeah, Chud's in the chat. Yeah, I'm Gen Z. The cutoff is 96. Wait, so Gen Z is 96. Okay, people don't know what it is. Liberalism is a joke. The thing is, this guy is in the chat talking about liberalism, thinking I'm a liberal. Yeah, there's a lot of chat trolls here. I'm just banning them. How do I even find this? Alright, one more. So I'm just going through the chat trying to get rid of people. Okay, who the fuck is this guy? Jay Warburton, I'm going to block you, but like, you have you been listening to me for like an hour and a half and suddenly that's 8, or you just jump in? There we go. Wait. He's 28. Who's 28? I'm not 28. Okay, the trolls I hope are gone. I'm on the lookout still. Yeah, so trolls gonna get worse. Do we even have any likes or dislikes? But yeah, like, this is why it's annoying, because people like troll you. It's just weird. It's like I seem to have the very good talent of both pissing off far right lunatics, like Christian nationalist types, and pissing off like fanatical Zionists as well. I'm 28. Oh, okay. If you're saying I'm 28, no. So I'm reading some more stuff. Yeah, someone came on my Discord. Some guy who's like made videos on me, and he just wrote, "Are you all commie arslers?" And then he just got banned. And I'm just like, how sad is that? Like, you spend time joining the server, writing that, and then someone gets banned. And then, like, what does that do for you? You've got nothing better to do with your time. What, you think you've annoyed me or you've won? I'm just like, you're just a sad person. Like, why waste your time? You got nothing better to do than write one thing and get banned forever. I will turn 40 in 5 weeks. Happy 40th. I probably won't get to say it to you. Someone speaking French. But yeah, okay, so I guess we spoke about Israel enough. Here's an interesting thing you guys might be interested in. Maybe people can help me with it, actually. So tomorrow's video is going to be on something really funny I've been because I saw a Twitter post talking about it was Confederates like Leoboos, and they were saying on the anniversary of Vietnamese Reunification Day, which was the 30th of April, same day Hitler died. They said, "Today we commiserate our brothers in South Vietnam for being sold out in their war against communism," talking about like some sort of solidarity between the Confederates and the South Vietnamese. And then I went down the rabbit hole of looking at Vietnamese Americans who support like Donald Trump and stuff. Is there really like, has anyone ever seen anything else but the links between like the lost cause of the Confederates and the South Vietnamese? It's an interesting little thing I found. So tomorrow's video is going to be about it. I think I'm going to just talk about the link and then just talk about South Vietnamese people, people who identify South Vietnamese. just voting Republican or voting for Trump and stuff. But no, definitely interested. I turned 16 in 2 weeks. It's so wild having people like 10 years younger than me watching my stuff. I turned 22 on May the 3rd. I just want to stop aging. I'm 25 and a half next week, I think. So, damn, 26 is coming. Don't want it. Don't want to age. I just want to stay 22 forever or something. This guy is such a perfect. See, look. So this guy, based on his language, Tom Afanafy, he's English, right? This guy is such a pathetic wanker. I bet he's on the dot. Why is an English guy, just from the title of my video, getting so pissed off? It's just so ridiculous. And I'm not on the dole, because thankfully, collectively I'm making enough money on YouTube and Patreon for this to be my job. Ban. Banning people feels good though. So I'm reading some more comments. So I'm trying to read if anyone talked about South Vietnam. So oh yeah, South Koreans who are fairly right wing. That's not surprising either. But yeah, so basically South Vietnamese people who fled South Vietnam after the war. One of my friends is actually South Vietnamese. He's Catholic, although he doesn't actually hate the current Vietnamese government. But his parents were like collaborators, and I was laughing at him the other day. I sent him a message. I was like, "Happy Reunification Day," and I was like, "Are you celebrating?" And he's like, "Probably not, because my grandparents were put in re-education camps." And I was like, "Oh, that sucks." I was like, "What did they do?" And he's like, "Collaborated." And I was like, "With who?" And he's like, "With everyone." So he tells me apparently they collaborated with the Vichy French, the Imperial French, and then the Americans. So we were just laughing about that. He goes back to Vietnam. He grew up there until he was 14, I think. So he doesn't hate them or anything. But yeah, his family were put in camps after the war. I turned 25 in March. I was the same age. 22 sucks. It's just like a nice period. I was still in university doing my masters, so that was fun. Yeah, Python, I guess it's just people who fled countries before their revolutionary governments took over. So with Iranians, I guess it's like people who like the Shah and like hate the new regime and stuff. I'm half Sudanese and half Nigerian, live in the UK and enjoy watching your streams. That's cool. So many people, like Sudanese is obviously like, I think probably the minority of people who watch me, but like so many people tell me where they're from, and it's just like so crazy. Like I'm like, people saying they're from Iran and actually from like in Sudan in my last live stream. I was like, what the hell? Never thought about this. Pump Action saying a lot of Vietnamese American parents and grandparents were government and military officials to South Vietnam, similar to Cuba. Yeah, Pump Action Musket, I thought as the case. I tweeted when that Riley drama was going on, when she was saying socialism was like inherently violent, and I was just saying like, oh, like it's not that violent. The government just take your land and then you move to Miami. Cubans and like Vietnamese and stuff. David saying, I'm Vietnamese American. I'll be interested what you have to say. Don't hold back. Yeah, hopefully you won't. Yeah, the South Vietnamese flags on January 6th, was it? Yeah, that's what I found when I was researching. I didn't really want to talk about that too much just because YouTube hate it. And his parents were policemen in South Vietnam. I knew, like, I said that when I talked about him before. I said, I bet he's from, like his family were, like, collaborators or something. WM saying, hey, Tabernacle, from watching your vids, I assume that you lean more left libertarian. Do I like any Marxist-Leninists or authoritarian leftists? Yeah, I don't really know, to be honest. I don't know too much of them. Like, Leninists, normally are fine. I don't know what you mean by authoritarian leftists, though. If you mean, like, people who are, like, simps for, like, Stalin and Mao, then I don't like them. I think that Lenin, Ho Chi Minh, Fidel, Che Guevara, that's okay. Yeah, not Mao and Stalin though. Yeah, Bad Empanada's videos are fine, but I don't know what's up with him on Twitter. Matt saying most Vietnamese Americans live in a city called Westminster. It's like every place in America is just named after the UK. A few kilometers from me, they're descended from South Vietnamese collaborators and Black Republican. Yeah, that's basically what the video is going to be on, to be honest. City of 200,000 and literally 80% of Vietnamese. That's pretty crazy. I'm definitely going to look into that. Thanks for telling me about that, though. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that. Did you know some Irish fought with Mexico during the Mexican-American War in the St. Patrick's Battalion? That reminds me of my great-granddad who fought in the Boer War just to fight the British. Sorry, read some more stuff. Yeah, Riley's meltdown was just... I don't even want to talk... The thing is, I think I'm done talking about, like, Twitch streamers and their drama, like Socialism Done Left and Riley, just because their either takes are so crazy I can't take them seriously, or someone like Socialism Done Left just gets exposed as a total piece of shit, and then people try and defend him. And then it's hilarious that, like, his granddad might have done the Bay of Pigs. Can you get any more ironic than that? Just like some guy who's like really shady and says like this shit. Turns out his family were involved in the CIA and Bay of Pigs. Just fucking hilarious. I go there for far about once a year. I'm actually considering moving to Vietnam for like a while. Definitely going travelling there, so I'm hyped to try out all the food. I go to a Vietnamese restaurant where I live though. I'm thinking of learning about. Well, I got my books all sitting next to me. I need to finish this. It's good so far though. It's basically his war diary, Che Guevara's war diary about the Cuban Revolution. It's like pretty honest, so like I wouldn't say it's like shocking, but it's quite vivid. It's a good description of war. I definitely need to read more of it though. I'm so bad with reading. I've just got a million things I want to do all the time. I always knew Socialist Done Left was says. Sometimes I got the left and right mad at him. Yeah, exactly. They follow the destiny. Why do all these guys love Destiny? Pump Action saying Vietnamese American was the chief architect of the Patriot Act. That's interesting. So I'm reading some more stuff. Alright, I'm getting a bit tired now. Going for an hour and a half, that's not so bad. Yeah, so that South Vietnamese video will be tomorrow. And then Friday, this one will be fun for the ones of you who like the Ben Affleck one. I think I'm gonna do like a 6 years later review or 7 years later. I don't know how long it is of Sam Harris versus Cenk Uygur. Because I thought it'd be interesting to go back and watch it now that I really don't like Sam Harris. So maybe Cenk was right in that debate. It's gonna be a fun one. I like doing these reviews because it's funny. When you live through these like the massive events, when you remember these things happening before like social media was massive. Like I've had Twitter since 2011, but before it was like absolutely huge that you'd have this discourse about stuff. Like no one, it'd all be on YouTube, the comments section and the reactions and stuff. I thought it'd be interesting to go back now, because when I was younger and more like a lib, one sec, just have some water. I watched that debate and I think I watched it twice. And the first time I agreed more with Cenk, and the second time I agreed more with Sam Harris. I wonder if I've come full circle where I'll actually agree with Cenk, because like, not that like I'm a massive apologist for religion, but like Sam Harris is just so clearly like a Western chauvinist. and he's gotten progressively worse and worse and worse. Not that he ever started out good. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna watch it on Thursday. Make my notes. It's like 4 hours long. Hopefully I can find someone who posted highlights instead, but like we'll see. But yeah, it should be a good video. Some train small comments. So Nathan saying the problem with Jank is that he refused to concede and could only argue against Sam on surface level points. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I want to see for myself. Why are we talking about Sean? All I know is he's just a skull avatar on Twitter. But like, I don't remember him doing anything. But yeah, I think that's the videos for the week. I'm gonna stream again on Thursday. We'll see what CrossFitter booze. Yeah, Kate, I definitely need to do that video at some point. I've got it on my list. Okay, one more. Here's how I end the video, right? So you know I've made those videos on like booze. So we've got Vera Booze who simp for the German military in World War II, Tojo Booze, similar but with Japan, Rody Booze who keep flooding. Val showed a clip today. What of the Sean guy? Is that what we're talking about? Rody Booze who love Rhodesia, Weir Booze who love apartheid South Africa, and then I think that's it. So for the last bit of the stream, have people got any suggestions of another video I could do for the Boo series? Because basically I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to do like a season finale and talk about like the through lines with the Boos and which one is the worst, essentially. CrossFitter Booze, I think, is its own topic. I don't think it goes into the Boo category. Basically, for the Boo category, it's basically historical revisionism and idealizing dead states, I think, is the main through line. Most of them are white supremacist. People were saying, like, Kaiser Boos. But then, like obviously the German Empire and, like, British Empire is problematic, but, like, I don't put it on the same level as like Nazi Germany or like apartheid South Africa as much. I know these empires are awful, but it's like that's kind of a weird one. Destiny sided with the Israelis. That's definitely not surprising. Turkaboos, yeah, but the Turks are still like that. So like they're not. Yeah, I guess if they love the Ottoman Empire, maybe. But Conquistaboos. I don't know, like, people were saying Serba Boos, but then I'm thinking, what's Boo about them? Serbia's still really messed up with, like, far-right nationalism. It's not like, what I'm looking for is, like historical revisionism of, like, a dead country, really is the main point in the Boo series, where it's, like, sort of ridiculous, and it can be, like, a crossover between, like, people who love history and people who are racist, essentially. Yeah, Nathan, I don't watch many left-wing YouTubers, to be honest. Keltaboos? Nah, the Kelt's not a thing. Kaiser Boos aren't as bad, but could be a good video. Yeah, the thing is, I like going hard on these people because most of them are white supremacists. Marrow Cat, I've already done that one. I called them General Leah Boos, not Confederate Boos. Your favourite YouTuber from Britain is Kevin Logan. You're wrong. Your favourite YouTuber from Britain is me. Ottoman Boos. I've done General Leah Boos. Norse Boos. I've done that stuff. I didn't call them Norse Boos. I did like paganism, Viking stuff, and Nazism. Ottoman Empire Boos. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't think there's one more. Like, I don't know if there's one more subject to get out of this. Like, I think it's a dead one. I'm trying to think in my head. Like, what's another dead country I can make one on? Yeah, I can't think of one. Like, are there simps for, like, French colonialism after the World War II or some shit? Like, that could be a good one. So I don't know. Tankies. I spoke about Tankies loads. obviously I don't agree with tankies who love like North Korea and like China and Stalin and shit. I also like people like to say tankies and Nazis are like the same sort of problems. Tankies are like some irrelevant online thing, where Nazis are like infiltrating like Western armed forces and law enforcement. So I think people should just focus on that sort of shit instead of irrelevant tankies all the time. Like tankies are such a minority in Western society. It's like basically like really online leftists who have no impact on anything, who love North Korea. Like I don't really give a shit. Like, obviously I totally don't agree with them and I think it's stupid, but it's also they're not like I said, infiltrating law enforcement and like I don't know, killing landlords if they're Maoists or some shit. Colonial Boo, we're focused on the Bacon Rebellion. Yeah, it's not a bad one, but are there prawn stands? Yeah, probably. French Foreign... Yeah, my girlfriend's dad was in the French Foreign Legion for like 5 years. I think one more year and he would have become a French citizen, but he can speak French. He said it was funny because he said he in his group or his unit, whether he had ex-IRA, ex-Ulster Volunteer Force, ex-Americans who fought in Vietnam, and also, what was the other one he said? There's also like another weird one as well. Maybe like some Russians or something. Baptista booze. I don't know if that's even a thing though. Yeah, the Roman Empire thing, Matthew, I could do. I kind of included it in my pagan thing. Canna booze. Yeah, that is a fucked up thing that I hadn't heard about until recently though. Busker. I think the most likely Kanda day is Serba booze, just because of fucking Serbia's history. Elon booze. Yeah, the thing is, you can call everything a boo in the end, but like I think so far I've had quite a good play on words for most of them. Like generally a booze makes me laugh. That's a funny one. Needs some Maoists in law enforcement. Yeah, that's what I mean. Though. It's not like you got the Maoist scourge in law enforcement who go around arresting landlords or something. Yeah, ancient Rome booze. Yeah, but ancient Rome is not like for the time period. It's not exactly like the worst thing ever. Western chauvinism. I've already done one on that. Caribou. What's caribou? Is what the animal. John MacDonald booze. What the guy used to be Shadow Chancellor. Evita booze. Yeah, like I think what I've come to the conclusion is there's Kaiser booze. I don't know if I'm passionate about to make a video on that, so maybe we're gonna have to go for the season finale instead. The Boo season finale. It was a fun series to make. The Rody Boo one really pissed them off. Like literally every day I wake up and like I have like maybe like 5 or 6 more comments telling me like I'm a fucking idiot. And Rhodesia is great and stuff. Like all the time. I just ban everyone who comments on it because most of them are racist. So. Oh, okay. John A. MacDonald was the first Prime Minister of Canada, a genocidal madman. Are people booze for him though? Oh, it's been a long day. I don't hate you for talking about tankies. I just don't think tankies are like a massive global issue or something I have to worry about. How do I handle accusations of anti-Semitism? I mean, like I've been called it by Zionists before at work. But the thing is, if you know you're not even, if you're educated on anti-Semitism, like I'm really like, I'm a guy who makes videos who, like, let me show you. The thing is, if someone calls me an anti-Semite or whatever, do what the fuck you want. But the thing is, I don't just like, I can say I'm not, but then just look at my like, quote, body of work on YouTube. Literally, it's pretty much most of my content is dedicated in some way to calling out like anti-Semitism. Because look, this video here, let me minimize myself a bit more. So like this video here is about Iranian Nazis, and I'm talking about like how awful this shit was. I talk about how complicit Greeks were in purging the Jewish populations during World War II. I've got these guys evangelicals who have an awful anti-Semitic view of Jewish people. So basically, all my stuff, like, the thing is, yeah, if these crazy Israelis who are like massive Zionists want to call me that because I criticize Israel, then go for it. But literally, half of my content in the last 6 months has been exposing far-right groups whose main thing is they don't, they hate Jewish people. So, yeah, me criticizing Israel for what they're doing to Palestine is consistent with my anti-racist, anti-imperialist views. Has nothing to do with, any racism towards Jewish people, since, like, I literally just spoke about earlier, I have great sympathy for what Jewish people have, historically have gone through, because, I've learned all about it during a university. It's some real awful shit, like, and you can't find a population, I don't think, another population who spreads out to so many different countries, but is constantly treated just awfully by all these different countries. It's not even like, they're treated bad in England but good in Spain. It's like, nah, they're treated like shit in all of them, and they're hated by all of them, and they're like persecuted in all of them. But yeah, like the only people who think I'm anti-Semite are just insane Zionists who think criticizing Israel is anti-Semitism. So yeah, I don't really give a shit, to be honest, because I know I'm not, and I've got the work to back it up. I constantly call it out, and I understand this stuff. I've made whole videos, talking about ridiculous conspiracies involving George Soros or like cultural Marxism, constantly having to debunk that all the time. Okay, it was a long day. Do you have a long day at work? It's just been... What have I done today? I just wrote my Last of Us thing, and then I worked out, and I did this for like a couple of hours. Yeah, Brandon, there are boos for the British Empire. That is one I have been thinking of, to be honest. There's actually YouTube channels dedicated to it, so it might be a good one. Anglophiles, yeah. maybe Brit I don't know, Brit bongs. British booze. Yeah, see you, Katie. Thanks for the donation. Thanks for joining the chat as well. I always appreciate your support, and it's always fun talking. Oh my god, yes, I sure did. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Hope tomorrow's better. Royal Family booze are an easy one. There's so many of them. Yeah, exactly. Windsor booze, Ian Smith booze. Yeah, I've done the Ian Smith one. It's just roadie booze. Sword booze. I don't think so. All right. I think I'll end it there. So yeah, thank you so much for everyone tuning in. This is a lot of fun. I felt like I need to get a lot of this stuff out because I've been really pissed off about this Israel stuff. If you missed the stream and you want to catch up on the stream, head to the Tabernacle Extra, just type it in, or go on one of my recent videos. It should be linked. And then click the link, subscribe to the channel. Hopefully I'll upload this stream in full on there in about 2 or 3 hours, and at worst tomorrow, because sometimes it takes fucking ages to upload for some reason onto my own YouTube channel. So if you want to catch up with anything, go there. And other than that, thank you for tuning in. Video about South Vietnam and Confederates tomorrow. And on Friday, hopefully we'll get that Sam Harris and Jenk one up. But I'm also going to stream on Thursday, so don't miss that. Matthew Caffrey. Oh, thanks so much, man. I really appreciate that. It says trans rights and donates $5. Not $5, £5, even better. No, thank you so much. Good morning. Yeah, good morning. Late, but Viking booze. Yeah, maybe I've done some stuff on that. Busker saying you're a sane voice in a mad world, Cav. Appreciate it. I'm glad you've enjoyed what I've had to say tonight. But yeah, thank you for saying that as well. Apistavist. Sorry. Yang is another neoliberal capitalist. Yeah, I agree. No, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in, and everyone who donated. Really, really appreciate it. Again, if you want to catch on the stream, Tabernacle Extra, everyone, hopefully going forward, is going to be uploading on that. And yeah, see you on Thursday if you're just in it for the live streams, and watch my video tomorrow if you're interested at all. So thank you, everyone.